Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Tonight, we'd like to talk about a story that was on the social media that GWERU local authorities are applying for clearance from government so that they could start charging haulage trucks that drive through the town because they claim they're damaging the roads there. Apparently, there are a few companies that have started up in GWERU, smelting, chrome, and so forth, and they bring in the ore from wherever. And the town clerk is thinking of setting up a system where they can charge these lorries for driving through the city. Benjamin, welcome to the program. GWERU, you are familiar with this town. What do you say to this story?
Good evening, everybody. Yeah, I have been in GWERU a couple of times, a few months ago. Yes, it's true. There's a lot of heavy motor vehicles that are using the roads, especially in the high density suburbs, because there's a lot of construction of houses that is happening, and obviously there are a lot of Chinese startups that are making steel and iron and stuff like that, and this year has actually impacted on the road very much. But I don't know how he plans to go about how he's going to be taxing whatever passes a day or every trip, because those trucks, they're commercial trucks. They do trips maybe maybe a dozen trips a day. But also I've been in GWERU, like I said, a few months ago. The dirt that is in there, it just shows GWERU's got no refuse truck. They don't collect household waste anymore. So you can clearly see there is mismanagement already in there. There's a rot within the council of GWERU, because I mean there's no water in most places, public spaces like public toilets. It's gone back to the bucket system. It's terrible. It's really terrible. And these are the same people that they have. Like I said, the corruption is just so much. They have created, food, vegetable stores where people can sell and do their ways in one spot. And in that spot, there is no public toilet, there is no water. So I'm just trying to explain the corruption before I actually say, here we are now, we are going to have a toll gate. Who's going to be collecting the money? Is the money going to go to the intended purpose? So there's so many things, and I think it's a good idea, but I think it will just promote corruption within the council that is already corrupt.
I think the most important thing to note here is that GWERU, like most other urban centers in Zimbabwe, in 1980, they were a thriving city. The town itself had many big companies who were doing very well, thank you. But in the last 44 years, many companies have closed down. And GWERU is no exception. So these startup companies who are doing this smelting, these are small companies compared to the old days of soon after independence or before independence. The truth of the matter is the city council here is trying to raise its revenue by coming up with all manner of charges. This is not solving anything. This is the proverbial flogging of a dead horse. Zimbabwe's economy has collapsed. We need to revive the economy. And taxing to the death the few economic activities that are taking place is not going to revive the fortunes of the country or the town of GWERU. This is actually interesting that it's following hot in the tracks of the recent announcement by government that anyone who owns a vehicle and has got a radio in their vehicle must have a license for it. And the charge for the license is $23 a quarter, or $92 a year. I mean, this is absurd. You know, one of the responses I've got in my WhatsApp group is somebody saying he bought their radio for the car for $30. And now they're finding themselves paying twice that in 1 year alone, 3 times that rather, in 1 year alone, for the license to listen to that radio in the car. This is becoming ridiculous. And I think the city council fathers are doing exactly the same thing here. We are not going to revive the fortune of the country or the city by flogging the dead horse.
You know, what happens is I don't see the excuse of why councils, all councils are failing to manage the funds that they get. I think they get a lot of money. I mean, every car that goes into town, the moment you park, there's somebody that is coming to pick up money from you. And it's 50 cents for 30 minutes, $1 for an hour. Wherever, even if you work in a shop, you have to pay that, you know, that's $10. And then there's some places where some individuals have actually made car parks and they charge per month. So the city of GWERU is making money through these here, you know, car parkings anywhere within town. That's just one. They're making money from buses that use, you know, the council you know, terminus. They're making money from rates. They're making money from, you know, from a lot of things. So I'm failing to understand, are they saying that all these resources that, okay, fine, could have gone and bought, you know, the first thing that is so essential before we even talk about all this, you know, is a refuse truck, water, you know, sanitization for people that they have put, you know, to sell their wares all over town. Sometimes, you know, you just think, you know what, this is just like exactly you're saying. You are trying to just flog a dead horse. You know, it's corruption is now not only as it is it in government. It has spread into the veins of even the councils, right into the mayor's office too. So I don't see what this whole purpose will do. I think nothing will be made because before these trucks were there anyway, the Bristol road was already completely gone. Most roads in GWERU are terrible. The one right in town where no truck actually does move, right where this here Bob Tower is, it's all potholes there, and they failed to close it. That's how embarrassing it is. Right in the middle of town, there are potholes. The drainage for the water is all clogged. When it rains, water covers the whole town because it's got nowhere else to flow out. It has to follow the pavements. You cannot jump anymore. So I think it's just an excuse for them to try and see how much they can, make a dollar out of 15 cents out of everybody else. If you're going to charge somebody, I mean, so much of these taxes, they stop growth. If I have a startup and I have my trucking company that is, with the frenzy that is there in Zimbabwe, where everybody is building, and I want to make a profit out of it, and you're going to start charging me all this year, maybe per trip, I will push it onto the consumer, and you're already hurting somebody that is already hurt. So it's just sad. I think it's a bad idea. If government passes it, then just know the whole of Zimbabwe, whatever town, whether it's a gross point, just to pass there, you're going to be taxed.
Yeah, I think there's no denying that corruption is rampant in Zimbabwe. There's no denying that. But I think what we've got also to accept here is that the economy has collapsed. And therefore, then the revenue base of local authorities is no longer there. There is no doubt that with unemployment at 80%, how many of those 80% who are unemployed are able to pay their rates? You can charge them and bill them all you want. But if the person doesn't have the money, what do you expect them to do? They'll not pay. So the revenue base of government itself and local authority there's no doubt that that revenue base has disappeared because of the economic meltdown. You have known GWERU. How many big companies have since closed in GWERU? And all of those people, all of those people were paying rent. And if most of those people are now just in the informal sector, like we can see there next to OK Bazaars, OK Bazaars, there people selling all manner of trinkets. Those people are not paying rates. And therefore, then to expect a council can still maintain basic services like the supply of water, keep roads in good condition, and so forth. This is simply unrealistic. What government is giving local authorities as grants is peanuts. Government itself is struggling. Like I referred to earlier on, there is a story that government, Minister of Broadcasting, I suppose, has come up with this idea that all those people who have got a radio, the fact that you may have a license at home for your television and radio is irrelevant as far as these people are concerned. If you've got a car and it has got a radio, you must have a radio license. And it's just a way of trying to get everybody with a vehicle that has got a radio to pay $92 a year as revenue to government.
I mean, this
unbelievable.
It was already happening. The car radio. It's got years. I think they just reminding you before they catch you. So what they do is they actually mount a roadblock with the police, and the police will stop the cars and check for the radio license. The TV licensing guys will be by the side with a book. So it's a spot fine. So instead of paying, like a fine, you have to buy the TV and radio license there and then. So you find out it is better for you to actually have the license, such that when they catch you, you don't have to struggle, because you will not leave there until you buy your TV or your radio license. It has always been like that for a couple of years now.
Well, my understanding of that law actually is that you needed to have a radio license if you're going to have a radio in your car. But now it appears they're changing the rules, tightening it, so that what license you have for your radio or television at home is not going to be applicable for your car radio. That is my understanding of that rule. That's why they're saying that for the car radio, you need 32 US dollars. Sorry, 92 US dollars per annum. So you'll end up with two licenses, one for your radio in the car and one for the television and the radio you've got at home. That is my understanding of that rule. But I think it's not so much the rule itself. It's just the way government is trying desperately to squeeze a dollar from the people. This is why I was saying that this is just flogging a dead horse. You are trying to increase your revenue by squeezing people harder and harder at every opportunity, coming up with all manner of excuses to increase tax, direct or indirect. That is the problem here. And these people, I mean, earlier when we were talking of these lorries, these trucks already drive on the roads outside the towns and so forth. And as far as I remember, GWERU used to have a toll gate just outside GWERU towards Harare, and another one going towards Bulawayo. So if these lorries are already paying tolls at these toll gates, they have got now to pay another one for entering GWERU itself. This is just taxing people so many times. I don't know, I haven't driven that route recently, but I should imagine that if you were driving from GWERU to Bulawayo, for instance, how many toll gates do you meet? And it's all supposed to be raising revenue. And so we're adding more toll gates, taxing the same people again and again and again. How many times do they have to pay these tolls in one trip? This is absolutely ridiculous. Like you correctly say, some of these buses, when they come into the city center to go to the bus terminus, they are charged. They are already raising revenue, but they are trying to get other ways of doing it. And all they're trying to do is desperately try to increase their revenue base by taxing the same people over and over again. And some of, like you correctly said, is passed on to the customer. If the buses have got to come to the bus terminus and they are charged so much, the bus tickets will have to increase. So the same customer who uses the bus ends up paying for it. We are flogging a dead horse. The economy is in serious trouble, and we're not going to revive it by taxing these. Some of them, like I said, 80% of the people are now unemployed. They are working in the informal sector. And these are the people who will end up paying all these extra charges directly or indirectly. It is impossible for somebody to survive under those conditions. And for the economy to thrive under those conditions, you can forget it. That is why I'm saying this is just flogging a dead horse. We are not going to sort out Zimbabwe's economic mess by charging everyone at every opportunity. That is a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, you know, before you even drive a car, you need to license it. And I suppose by virtue of you licensing your car and paying it, you know, for your license, you're paying for you to use the roads. So I don't think it will be necessary for you to start charging me again for using the roads again. So why did I pay the first one in the first place? You know, and it's the more you continue taxing people, unfortunately, it is the ordinary person that suffers. Whoever wants, you know, let's say, for example, somebody is building and wants a truck full of, you know, maybe pit sand or whatever, silver sand. Whoever is going to carry will tell you the toll fee and will pass it on to you. So it just becomes more expensive for you now. So it doesn't really make any sense what you know what these guys are saying. And they're not two toll gates. GWERU has toll gates on every major road. The one going to Shirugwi, the one going to Vuma, the one going to Harare, the one going to Bloe. There is a toll gate. So you where are you going to put another toll gate? In the location? Surely we will make history by that, you know, for the wrong reason again, unfortunately. So I think this year is just a bad idea, and I wouldn't put past our government. They would have seen as if, you know, this guy here has come up with a good scheme for us to milk some more. You know, they might just buy into the idea, and before you know it, the whole of Zimbabwe, just for you to go, you know, home, you'll probably have to pay a toll gate.
Yeah, in this particular case, I know for a fact that the toll gates, if you've got a private car, you pay X dollars. And if you are driving a combi, you pay X plus Y. And if you're driving a bus, you pay more, and so forth. And these heavy trucks, they pay a hell lot more. So this is just the council trying to see if they can muscle in that business. So you may find, for instance, the toll gates to all the roads entering the city itself will have an extra supercharge on it, which the council will be expecting to get a cut off. And you know, if they were to approve it for GWERU, you can bet all other councils would want to do the same thing. Why not? You know, and at the end of the day, you'll find yourself in a situation where operating anything at all becomes so incredibly expensive. Business in Zimbabwe is very, very difficult. It is very difficult to do any meaningful business. But to be quite honest, the main problem we have there is we have now have come up with all these indirect and direct taxes on the individuals, such that it is near impossible for them to survive, much let alone to thrive. Because if you're going to start your own business, you need to put money aside. And the other day we were talking of how this new zig with inflation is very difficult to keep any savings. And now they are piling on top of those problems, other problems as well. I think this is what I find to be so incredibly ridiculous.
Yeah, it's sad, the path that we have taken of, you know, continuously taxing the consumer. You know, at every turn there is a tax. You know, right now they've already gone after the US dollar accounts. You know, it's 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 very difficult, like you say, not to just have a business, but just to survive. It's becoming, you know, a challenge, such that whoever is surviving in Zimbabwe will probably need a medal, you know, for just getting through the day, because at every turn, you know, you are being harassed, you are being charged for things, you know. It's better if you're being taxed for a service that, you know, you actually see the value coming out. There is nothing. And just like what GWERU is doing, the GWERU Council is saying that, you know, they want to use that money to fix the roads. I don't buy it. I think it's just another gimmick just to, you know, get away with the money. They'll probably put a few, you know, patch up the walls with sand, just like they always do. You know, I don't see it working. And I think, you know, we have to change this somewhere, somehow. And I think change starts with you and I at the end of the day. We have to say enough is enough, and start, you know, using our brains. We don't have to be violent about it, but there are ways that are there, that are democratic ways that are there, you know, that we could use to turn the tables in our favor.
Thank you very much, Benjamin. I think on that note, we'll close. And thank you very much, the listeners, and I hope you join us again tomorrow. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.